Today we'll have Missy's solo Disney World trip. That's coming up on this episode 381 of WW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips, and we have lots and lots of trip reports. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 381. On these trip reports, we are always trying to feature different kinds of trips, and today it is a solo trip. I'm very excited about this one because, to me, Missy has just had the epitome of a great time at Disney World by herself, and you will see how that went in just a moment. As always, a reminder to follow on social media, particularly on Instagram and Facebook, if you are into those platforms where we do Q&As once a week on Instagram and every couple of weeks on Facebook. Feel free to answer any questions that you might have there or shoot a DM. Instagram is the easiest place to do that if you have questions as you plan. I don't think I have any other housekeeping, so without any further ado, here are my chats with Missy. Welcome to the podcast, Missy.
Thanks so much.
We are talking on Wednesday, October 11th, and I understand that you are going to Disney World. What are your trip dates?
I am. So I go Friday the 13th until Monday the 16th.
Okay, it's a quick trip. I take it this is not your first trip?
No. My first trip was in 2016, so as an adult, and then it was 0 to 60. I'm a full-fledged Disney fanatic. This is my fourth trip this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, you are not anything close to a first timer. So when you went in 2016, did you think that was going to be a one-time thing?
Yeah, I always wanted to go as a kid. My parents were always those people that just weren't. They were not going to go. My husband had a conference and I tagged along and I said, while we're there, let's go to the Magic Kingdom just for a day and see what it's like. We left that day wearing Mickey ears. We had bought gear and we were all in. So it's been nonstop since then.
So that was a very casual visit. So you didn't do the kind of planning you do now, I take it.
No, I had no idea what I was doing that day. It was, we always laugh because we got in line for Journey Under the Sea with Ariel, the Little Mermaid ride. We waited for about an hour and we met Ariel and we looked around and we're like, where's the ride? We had gotten in line to meet Ariel. Mm-hmm. So that's how little we knew about the entire park. So much, much different now.
Much, much different. And now you are fully in. So are you an annual pass holder?
No. So I actually, even though I've gone 4 times, I've only been in the park, a day or two each trip that I go. I'm not super rich. So even though I've gone 4 times, it's mostly just for quick weekends to get my fix and come back home. So
okay. I go to Disneyland multiple times a year and I've never had an annual pass or Magic Key there. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, especially when you have short trips.
Exactly. So for me, it doesn't quite make sense yet. Maybe someday.
It's getting harder and harder to justify as of today. They raised the prices.
I know it hurt. It hurt because, I don't know. I just don't know.
Even just a few years ago, they were like half what they are now or something. Like it's a big difference now. So anyway, it is. I digress.
Yes.
You mentioned your husband. Is that who you're traveling with this time?
I'm going by myself.
Oh, solo. Is this your first solo trip?
No, I went once before, but just for literally a day. I went for the day and then flew back the next morning. But I'm going for the whole weekend. I need a little bit of me time to de-stress. And my husband is super supportive. He's like, I've got the kids, go. So
I love this. I am on a mission to not only get Disney World people go to Disneyland, but to get parents to do things because you're still a person.
Oh my gosh,
and it's really nice to get to do the things that you want to do, even if just for kind of a long weekend. Right. All right. Where are you staying on this trip?
I'm staying at Pop Century. Pop is where we've stayed the most. We've stayed at a lot of different places. I love that it's economical, but easy with the Skyliner. So that's my go-to.
And for one person, I find bigger rooms to be a little weird. Like I can't fill all this
Right?
space.
I know. I don't need much. I'm not going to be there a whole lot. So it's perfect.
Yes. And you get a little table or desk, get a bed.
Mhm.
You have everything you need
Yeah.
right there.
hmm
Okay. So how are you getting to Orlando? Are you flying? Are you driving?
I'm flying. So I'm flying out of Dulles Airport in DC.
Mhm.
I fly out Friday afternoon. I'll get there at around 8 or so in the evening.
Okay. How do you plan to get from the airport to Pop Century?
I'm going to use mirrors this time. Since it's just me, I'm not in a huge hurry. It was cheaper, so feels safer. So that's my go-to.
Any plans that Friday night?
Depending on how long it takes me to get there, I might wander around the resort, do some shopping, get snacks, go for a walk. I'm trying my best to tie my hands behind my back and not plan too much. So we'll see where the night takes me.
I am pulling up the weather. Is that something you're thinking about? Because it looks like
Yeah.
it might be a decent weekend.
So I've been watching it like a hawk. There's a storm rolling in. It's supposed to roll out Saturday. So Saturday's been iffy, but it's just me. So I have no kids, no husband. I can put on a poncho and go. So I'm good.
Yeah, it might be a good weekend. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. Okay, so then October 14th, Saturday. What are your plans?
So I have park hoppers, 2-day park hoppers. Saturday, I have reservations for Hollywood Studios. My plan is to be at the Skyliner bright and early and got to Hollywood Studios. I don't have a lot that I want to get done that day. I would love to start at Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster. I've heard that Hollywood Scoops does waffles and mimosas in the morning. So I would love to scooch over there and have some mimosas next to Tower of Terror. And then I do have one reservation that day, and it's at Oga's at 10:15 because there's nothing like breakfast drinks. And if you can't tell, I like to talk. So I'm perfectly fine mingling with people that morning at Oga's. And then plan to probably do some Galaxy's Edge stuff. Since it's just me, I don't have a problem buying individual lightning lanes, so I'll definitely get one for Rise that morning. I'm going to buy Genie Plus, so we'll see what I would prefer to do as much without Genie Plus that morning, so I can stack things for later in the day. But if I need to use it, I will while I'm there. But yeah, so Galaxy's Edge, and then my plan, I'm trying not to do too heavy in the planning part since it's just me. I want to be flexible, but I would love to be done around lunchtime with majority of Hollywood Studios so that I can head back to the resort, possibly lay out by the pool for a little while and actually relax just for a little while. And then plan is to be at Epcot at 2. So food and wine is my jam. I would love to try to hit as many of the booths as possible on Saturday. I also really love champagne, so do not be surprised if I get the $69 glass of champagne.
Have you ever had Dom Perignon?
No, and I will probably never buy a bottle. I mean, never say never, but at least right now, I'm not in the market to buy a bottle of Dom Perignons, but a glass I can do. So
Listen, what, it's less than a full bottle?
right.
You can try it.
Right. My husband's all for it. He's like, go get 2. I'm like, don't tell me that.
Yeah,
It's fine.
you might as well. You're getting close to the price of a bottle there.
I know. No. So, yeah, that's high on my list is to try some. Definitely gonna get a Guardians individual lightning lane that day. And then kind of see where the afternoon takes me in Epcot. So we will see. That day, so Saturday, Magic Kingdom is actually open until 11 that night. So my ambitious plan is to do Epcot in the afternoon, early evening, and then pop again over to Magic Kingdom. I would love to do Tron at night. I've only done it once during the day. I would love to do it at night. So trifecta of individual lightning lanes that day, and with a Tron one that night. And possibly close out Magic Kingdom that night, make it a marathon day.
Yeah, I mean, on longer trips, we always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. But in this case, you can
Mhm.
be sprinting. You've just got a
Right. And
couple
it's just
days.
me,
Hmm.
I have 4 kids, and a husband usually. And so I'm well aware of breaks normally on Disney trips, but it's just me and I'm not that old. So I think I can do this. I think I can do it.
Do it, yeah, do it while you can. The
Yeah.
fatigue,
So
the fatigue hits later.
yeah.
Okay, well, that would be a very exciting Saturday. So is
Yeah.
Sunday a full day as well?
Probably. So because Sunday is a party day, my ambitious plan is to sleep for a little while, wake up, and go back to Magic Kingdom in the morning on Sunday. Not necessarily to do anything. I have this picturesque dream in my head of grabbing a Joffrey's coffee and just sitting on the hub grass and just sitting. One of my favorite things about Disney is just the people watching and just listening to the music and, watching memories being made. And I would love to spend some time just sitting and kind of soaking things in and, um, just forgetting about everything else that's going on and just having my moment. So that's my plan for Sunday morning.
Hmm.
I'm going to see how long I'll last at Magic Kingdom. Like I said, I have been a few times this year and I've been to Magic Kingdom the most. So I don't have, I have to do this, have to do that. I'd like to do Tron again. I know it's short, but I thought it was really fun. So I'd love to do it again. I'd love to do things that my kiddos usually can't do. So, Space Mountain would be great. Having a waffle, a Nutella waffle from Sleepy Hollow sounds delightful. And just seeing where the day takes me. I've also considered around lunchtime leaving and maybe doing a little monorail crawl. Just doing some shopping, maybe going to Steakhouse 71, sitting at the lounge, having a drink or two, and just see where it takes me that morning and afternoon. So yeah, the sky's the limit that morning for me.
Yeah, lots of
Yeah.
fun options.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So then my plan is at 2 o'clock to park hop over to Animal Kingdom. Um, I am an Everest fanatic, so I want to see if I can get on it a couple of times. So I'll probably be trying to stack a lightning lane for that towards the afternoon using the single rider line and seeing if I can do that a time or two. Definitely want to try to get over to Pandora and do Flight of Passage, get some cheeseburger pods at some point because I think those are delightful. And I may stop at Nomad Lounge just to hang out for a little while. I don't know, Shannon. I really want to just see where the day kind of leads, but that's my plan is to park hop to Animal Kingdom and see. I have no problem staying for 2 hours. I have no problem staying for 4 hours.
Hmm.
And we'll see.
And
then,
listen, if the forecast ends up working out, it
yeah.
might be a delightful day to stay there.
I know. And it looks like it. So I read a forecast that said that fall may come to Orlando over the weekend. And if that's the case, then I mean, it's just going to be heaven. No kids,
Absolutely.
no husband, and fall in Orlando.
Yeah, and Animal Kingdom is extra pretty in my opinion when it's not super
I
hot because you don't
know.
have to worry about all those outdoor spaces, the
Right.
queues and everything.
So
Oh,
yeah, I'm excited to see, and just again, wander and take everything in would be my best plan. If I'm being ambitious, I'm thinking about ending Sunday at Epcot. And if there's any food booths that I haven't been able to hit or, things I haven't done since I am on the Skyliner with Pop, I can, head back afterwards. I've never seen Epcot Forever. It's not a must do for me. I'm kind of sad Harmonious is gone. But I mean, why not see it while I'm there? Again, I have no kids and no husband, so I'm not in a rush to get back to the hotel at the end of the night. Part of me, the little like angel devil on my shoulder is saying, you should totally go to Jelly Rolls after Epcot closes and go to the dance hall and just dance your little heart out because you can. So don't be surprised if this near 40-year-old lady ends up at the dance hall at 11. I don't know.
Listen,
I don't know.
why not?
I know. So
that's really fun. I'm excited. This is probably going to be your last trip where you have to worry about the park hopping time.
Right. And I saw they released it today that it's no longer going to be an issue. So, I don't know. It bothers me, but I'm just trying to be flexible with it. But yeah, we'll make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to work with it now, but you won't have too much longer. So you could do 4 parks in one day if you don't have to worry about that time.
I know, but I think that's my ambitious goal for Sunday is to go out with a bang. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Because Monday morning I have to catch Mears at 6:30 back to the airport.
6:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
That is early.
It is. I wanted to be home in time to relieve my husband and get back to reality. So,
Well, that's very exciting, and I think I'm excited to hear the post trip because it will be a real testament to how flexible you can be when you're by yourself.
It will, and that's why I take everything with a grain of salt because I have my game plan, but I am 100% here to pivot and change and go where the wind takes me. It's been really hard because I love planning. That's part of the reason I think I love Disney trips so much is because I get to, stock the reservations for different dining, or I get to, there's just so much involved and I love that part of it. But I've really tried not to do that this trip. So like I said, besides the Olga's reservation, I haven't made any reservations. I did pack. I've already packed, of course. So I did pack like a nice outfit in case I decide, I want to go have a nice dinner somewhere instead. So I'm just going to go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, that will be super fun. I am happy for you that you get to do this.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you when you get back.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Welcome back from your trip, Missy. We are talking on Tuesday, October 24th. So you've been back for about a week or so.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
It went really well. Ups and downs. I will say if anyone took notes, just throw them in the trash.
That would be me. I took notes.
Maybe 10% of what I said actually happened, but that's the beauty of being by yourself. So I think that's actually, in my opinion, probably a good thing. So people can see how things change.
Okay. Then I'm not going to refer to them too much. You're just going to guide us through your trip.
I will do my best to not confuse anybody.
Let's start on October 13th because you said that you were flying from Dulles into Orlando in the evening.
I was. So I dropped kiddos off at school, got all packed up. I got to Dulles about 1:45. My takeoff wasn't until 3:30. So with it just being me, it took me literally less than 15 minutes from the time that I parked into getting through security and being done. It was amazing. So I found myself a little bar and got a beer and sat and I started. So I'm late to the game. I just started the new Love is Blind season. So I started that while I was in the airport. So that was just delightful.
I'm so sorry though.
I only made it to 4 episodes before I think I gave up.
Okay. If you're new to Love is Blind, I recommend going back to season 1.
I have to go back. This one was not my favorite, but it was good for the first couple. And then
I gave up. Exactly. It killed some time for you. And then
it really did.
And then it drizzled out.
It really did. So yeah, that was super smooth. Great. Had a nice time. I landed in Atlanta. I had a layover on the way down. And that's when the delays started coming in. I was supposed to only have a 45-minute layover. Ended up being about 3 hours, which was not great. No. But being by myself, I found a Carrabba's. I got a spot at the bar with a bunch of other single ladies on vacation. So had a nice chat and it wasn't terrible. The flight eventually took off about 9:00, landed in Orlando at 10:30, and I was taking mirrors. And I will say I was a little nervous because I wasn't in a huge rush, but because I didn't land until almost 11, I really wanted to get back. I got on the bus at 11, and by 11:50, I was in my room. So it wasn't terrible. I was the first stop. The bus departed almost as soon as I got onto it. I knock on wood. That was great. about midnight-ish. I unpacked, took a shower, and went to bed about 1.
What did you think of your Pop Century room for this trip?
Oh my gosh, I wanted to bring that up. It was amazing. So I just had a standard room, but I was in building 7 and I could see my room from the main hall. So it was that very first corner of building 7. And I of course, didn't write the room down that I had, but it was the very first one on the corner on the outside. It was the best. Like I said, it took me less than 30 seconds to walk to the main hall, a minute to the Skyliner. It was perfect. First floor. I couldn't have asked for a better room, to be honest.
You're being really generous because
Why?
7 is all the way on the end. And I was
corner.
It was the corner that's the closest. Okay. It's just, I pulled up the map because I was like, oh, I want to see where she was. And that still would have been a bit of a hike, but I guess you were like the path to the bus and the Skyliner wasn't too bad from your room.
No.
Okay.
And maybe because it was just me, everything seems quick.
Yeah, you only had to navigate.
I don't have a stroller. I don't have a husband. I don't have anyone dragging me down. But yeah, it really did. It really was for me personally. It was great. I had no issues with it. It was good.
Okay. All right.
I normally request the 50 section, and I wanted to do something different this time. So I did request the 70 section just to see something different this time, just as a note.
Yeah, and that area is a little closer to the bus stops. So that is helpful.
Right.
But okay.
Yeah. So I pretty much went straight to bed, unpacked, showered, went to bed. So the next morning I was up at 6. I got ready, and at 7, I did my lightning lane choices. So I think I had mentioned this before. This is something that actually I did keep my word for. I got a Guardians for 2:30 because my plan was to park hop to Epcot at 2. And then I had a Tron for 8:30 because I wanted to end up in Magic Kingdom that night, and I really wanted to do Tron at night. So those two were great. Where I was confused on the general lightning lane to get was because I was going to rope drop Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster. I knew that Mickey and Minnie's was not going to be super long. So I did get a Slinky Dog. It wasn't until 12:30. I kept it just because I thought if I'm there at that time, I have it. If not, I'll try something else. So those were my choices. By 7:20, I was in line for the Skyliner. There was no one else in line. What? I was really confused. I looked around and I'm like, wait a minute. I kept checking my clock. Did I mess something up? No, I just strolled right on.
What time did everything open that day?
That day, early entry was at 8.
And it wasn't busy at 7:20, 7:30?
Not a single person in line for the Skyliner.
I would absolutely, speaking of Terror, feel like I was in the Twilight Zone.
I did. I'm not kidding you. When I literally stopped in my tracks and I looked around and I thought for sure, Shannon, something had glitched in my phone. The time was different. Anyhow. So,
I mean, great for you.
It was amazing. So I was on, and I made sure to keep these times because it was wonky. I was on the Skyliner at 7:20. I got to the park and got in line. By 7:33, I was in line for Tower of Terror. 13 minutes from the time that I got on the Skyliner at Pop to being in line for them to open up Tower of Terror.
So that means 3 things. One is the Pop Century Skyliner station wasn't busy. The Caribbean Beach Skyliner station wasn't busy.
I walked right off and right back on.
Entrance didn't take you very long to Hollywood Studios.
I think I counted six couples in front of me to get through the turnstiles.
That is so bizarre.
It's bizarre, but you're just keep this in mind because this is not how the day goes. I got very spoiled. I'm in line for Tower of Terror. There's maybe 10-ish people in front of me. I'm ready. They finally opened up Tower of Terror. I was in and off the ride by 8:10, and it was an amazing ride. So I got into the portion where they put you in the numbers to get onto the elevator, and all of these family and people around me are asking, have you done this before? Have you done this before? And I said, yeah, why have you not? most of the people in that elevator had not done it before. And so there's one woman, she's with her kids and is it just one big drop? How does this go? And I said, no, like it's short. You're going to be okay. Cause she was petrified. I could tell she was really scared. And so that was one of the most fun rides on Tower of Terror I've had, just because it's so much fun when you go with people who don't know what to expect. Like they thought for sure when those doors first closed, that was when they were going to drop.
And
so
that is how it works. That's how it works in California.
So when we started moving, you could hear everybody, what's going on? Where are we going? And they didn't understand. And it was so much fun. I've never laughed so hard on that ride because everyone else was nervously laughing together. It was just so much fun.
They knew enough to be there for early entry. They knew enough to be there for early entry.
They did.
They just hadn't experienced the ride before.
Nope. And it was just so fun. We all walked off of that ride I had tears coming out of my eyes because we were laughing so hard. So it was so much fun.
That is fun.
It was amazing. So walked through the gift shop. I loved looking at everything. It was so hard not to start buying things because I didn't want to carry it around.
Mm-hmm.
But I also saw so many things that I'm like, okay, maybe I can come back for. And that I don't get to do when you have kids around. So that was really delightful. So I left there and that's where the plan started to deviate. Rock and Roller Coaster was down. They weren't opening it yet. Hollywood Scoops wasn't open yet either. And that was where my Mickey Waffles and Mimosas were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, we're going to leave this area. What are we going to do next? So I walked out and I saw Runaway Railway didn't have a line. So I walked on there and it's super cute and super fun and took me less than 15 minutes by the time I walked in and walked out. And then after that, I went towards Galaxy's Edge and I got to Galaxy's Edge by about 9 o'clock, a little before 9 o'clock, actually. And then at 9 o'clock, I decided, okay, I'm going to have drinks and ogas in about an hour. I need to get a base in my stomach going. Just to note for some people that may also share my health issues, I can't eat so many amazing things because of health issues. It's very random, and so I have to be very selective. Ronto wraps are out for me, very sadly. A lot of things at Woody's Lunchbox are out for me. Galaxy's Edge at Ronto Roasters, though, they have the overnight oats, and they're so good. So I had those, and I got my coffee, the cold brew coffee with the Cocoa Puffs on top. And I had the perfect little seat overlooking the Millennium Falcon, and I propped my seat up, and I drank my coffee and had my oats. And there's something about Galaxy's Edge in the morning. It's just quiet and you can actually hear the noises around you. And I'm just watching families taking pictures and you can see some people coming past that are looking at the Millennium Falcon for the very first time. And it was just so fun. And that was one of the things I think I told you that I was really looking forward to was just sitting and observing and taking everything in. And that was just a solid time. So that was really nice. And then about 9:16, I decided to do Smuggler's Run, single rider. And I wanted to point out when you do single rider, there were some people in front of me. And when you walk up, because obviously you pass all the pre-shows and all of the line, there is a staircase that you walk up. If you look left, there's also a staircase that goes left that most people don't see because they're just straight on. They see the staircase and they go. So I walked up the left staircase and I never stopped walking. So the guy saw me walking up the stairs and just ushered me on, put me right in line, and I was getting on the ride by 9:18. So 2 minutes took me just to walk up and get in line.
Wait, can you tell me again, though, when you went left,
Yeah.
how is that different than going right?
So when you go to the part where there are the two staircases,
Yeah.
I think that's where they have the two different like pods where they split you off. So one goes to one side where there are pods for rides and the other goes to another side that has pods for rides. So there's just two separate areas that you can go to.
Okay. I thought you were going to say that left took you to some pre-shows or something like that. It's just another way to get to the pods.
It's just another way to get there that I don't think most people see. Because like I said, the group in front of me just went and bolted straight for the stairs that are basically straight ahead of you. But if you just turn left a little bit, there's another staircase. And I've done that multiple times and there's almost never anybody on that side. I think because you just don't see it. Anyhow. So I got up there And it was myself and 3 women, all about my age, and then a couple. So no kids, just adults. And as we're standing there, girls are laughing and the one has a birthday sash on and the couple's talking to us. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm on Mom-cation. I'm by myself. And it was from that point on, everyone was high-fiving each other and we're going to do this and hyping each other up. Shannon, that was the most fun I've ever had on Smuggler's Run. All of us adults, all of us yelling at each other, push the button. And when you go to light speed, we're all screaming, punch your chicken. And the guy in the front pushes the button and it was just so much fun. So that was just really fun. And they actually offered to take some pictures of me. So I have some really great pictures of myself in that area right outside of the ride. And we had a little chat afterwards. It was 3 sisters that were actually there for the one sister's 40th birthday. And so we probably chatted for, my goodness, 15 minutes or so just about what they were doing. And it was so fun.
This just makes me so happy because it used to just be families that were mostly a target of Disney's advertising and stuff. And now it's so many different kinds of people.
It really is. And it's so nice to see. I don't know. I love seeing adults having just pure fun. I love it. And we had so much fun. So we said our goodbyes. And at that point, I had about a half an hour until my Oga's reservation, which was at 10:15. Mm-hmm. And so I went for a walk. And then somehow my walk ended me up where, I know they just changed the word for this too, where all the Incredibles are meeting. I can't think
changed it to
they just changed
Pixar Plaza or Pixar.
Yeah, something like that. So I ended up being there and I'm just walking and seeing all the characters and I look down and there's Solly with no line. And I thought, what the heck? So I walk up and I'm barely 5 foot tall and Solly has to be almost 7 feet. And so I went up and met Solly and I got pictures and it was fun. And I stood there for a few minutes looking at the characters thinking, no, I really shouldn't. I'm just by myself. I'm so glad I did. It was so much fun. So I did that. And then it was about time for Oga's. So I started walking at 10:06 over to Oga's and I was taken almost immediately into Oga's. As I'm walking in, a bunch of stormtroopers walk into Oga's. And so I'm basically following the stormtroopers into Oga's. And the host leading me in said, oh, you're back. And I'm looking like, wait, what? He's like, you're trouble. And he starts this whole thing. And I said, yeah, I am. And he pointed to, there's rules right outside of Oga's in the language there. And he said, can you follow these? I said, I don't know, number 3. He's like, number 3 is the most important. So we had really cute back and forth. It was fun. They walked me up and I got a spot at the bar, which was great because I hadn't been there before. Mm-hmm. And the stormtroopers are walking through and talking to people, interacting with the kids. And it was so fun to see them in there. I have to point out my bartender's name was Natalie. And I'm going to send you a picture that Natalie took of us because as soon as Natalie found out that I was there on Mom-cation, she went with it. She took my phone, started taking selfies of her and I together. Other bartenders started coming over and talking to me. And it was a party. And it was so much fun. She was hilarious. She's making jokes and gave me my first drink. And she said, there's supposed to be a limit, but I'm gonna let you go. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't really plan on having that many, Natalie, but all right. So she's giving me tips. She said, so what's your day like? And I told her, and she said, I have one tip for you. And I said, what's that? She said, I learned something new last week. You can take alcohol into the Frozen show. Did you know that? And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. She's like, I watched it 3 times that day. I'm like, oh man, Natalie, I don't think so. The girls next to me were celebrating a birthday. The family next to me was on their first trip. And I wasn't even intentionally making it a point to talk to other people. It just happened to where everyone was really chatty. And so I stayed there for almost an hour just talking. I only had 2 drinks. They're my favorites. I love the Jedi mind trick, the one that bubbles on the top. And I had a jet juice. And we just chatted. I ended up getting pictures with the family next to me and the girls next to me. And it was just delightful. I left there at about 11:15 and I was on cloud 9 at this point. I had talked.
You had a good day.
I had such a fun day. I talked to so many fun people. I had so many rides. Rock and Roller Coaster didn't ever actually come back up. And so I just called it a loss. I'll do it next time. It's about 11:15. I walked back to the Skyliner, got back to my room. Or no, I'm sorry. Actually, I stopped at the gift shop at Pop first, bought some new stuff for my kids. I got a kids meal at the food court. And then I went back and just hung out for a little while. I didn't take a nap or anything, just laid there in silence. And it was delightful.
Because you can.
Because I can. I did take another shower just because I could and got redressed. And at 1:40, I was on the Skyliner heading back to Epcot. And this is where the day changes. So I was about to get off the Skyliner, and the line from International Gateway just to get into security was back almost to the bridge. And I thought, maybe this is just because it's park hopping time. There's lots of people. So I got in line and I got through security. And my plan was to go left and start to the booths. I wanted to go to Canada, and I wanted to get the steak, and I wanted to get some beers, and I wanted to have a little bit of time to do that before my Guardians. Oh my goodness. The Canada booth had both sides open. There were lines on two sides. There had to have been a minimum of at least 75 people to 100 people on both sides. It was like trying to weave through a school of fish, trying to get even past people in that area. And I thought, you've got to be kidding. And so I figured, well, we'll come back. We'll come back. It's okay. I turned left, and I did end up getting one of my favorites. I think it's a huge favorite. It's the corned beef and chips. It flavors from fire. So I got that, and I got a campfire lager, and I thought, okay, this is fine. This is what I wanted. And as I'm looking around, I have never, and I've been to Epcot quite a few times, I have never seen so many people in one place in my entire life. And I thought, it had been storming and cold that week. It was very nice that day. I thought, it's October. There must be some fall breaks happening. It's just a perfect storm. So I thought, okay, we're going to be okay. So I figured, let's just get Guardians out of the way before my time is up. So at 2:40, I went over to Guardians, and I went to scan in, and there were just people hanging out in that area. And I'm like, do they not know they have to go in? And I'm like looking around. No, the line for Lightning Lane was all the way out the building. And I paid for it and wanted to do it. So I'm like, I'm just going to wait. It took me almost an hour.
You paid for
to get into Guardians and off Guardians through the Lightning Lane. And I don't mean to sound snooty but when you pay for something and it's not super cheap, it was like $20. Oh, it was frustrating. But again, I thought, okay, it's okay. We're just going to do this. I failed to mention before, I did not do Slinky. What I did do was change that for a Soarin' for about 3:00. And because I wanted to see Soarin' over California, I'd never seen it. I really wanted to do it. So after Guardians, I thought, okay, let's go do Soarin'. And I walked over. By the time I got in and got down, the Lightning Lane for Soarin' was all the way out and past where you scan in for the Lightning Lane. And I went, no, I can't do it.
What a wild contrast to your morning.
I started to feel sad, like all of everything that I had in my head. And I'm a planner. I'm a type A. I had in my head, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here. And most of what I was thinking was not happening. So it was at that point that I thought, okay, I have to figure something out, because when I tried to walk back into World Showcase at that point, I couldn't. Like, I physically couldn't. I could not walk. It was at a standstill. That's how many people were in Epcot. And I thought, you can stay and be miserable, or we can change plans. What are we going to do? So I looked at my phone and I thought, where are we going to go? Let's go to Animal Kingdom. That was the plan for tomorrow. Why don't we switch it to today? It has to be better than this. It has to be. I thought, most people, at least in my mind, would go to Animal Kingdom in the morning and then park hop somewhere else. So maybe it's better. So at that point, I decided to walk back through International Gateway. I went to Beach Club and got a bus to Animal Kingdom. I don't know if that was the best decision, but I was over that way. I thought
I think that sounds smart.
Probably the best thing to do. So I walked through Beach Club, got the bus to Animal Kingdom. It was actually great because I walked almost right onto a bus. And by 3:45, I was in Animal Kingdom. So we started over. I went straight to Everest. I switched my lightning lane from Soarin' to Everest, walked right to Everest, got right on, and it was great. I love that ride. Decided to get off.
Crowds at Animal Kingdom.
It was busy for sure, but it was much more manageable. Much more manageable. Yeah, I felt pleased with my choice to leave and go. So I rode Everest with the lightning lane. I actually decided to go off and go back on through single rider. And that only took maybe 5 minutes in line. And I went on again. 2 times, I think, is my limit. At this point, I was good. They were super fun. I realized the only thing I'd really had to eat that afternoon was the chips. And I thought, okay, I have to eat. And at this point, I wasn't feeling great. And depending on my food choices, I can have flare-ups and it can make me just feel terrible. So I thought I have to be something really safe. So my cheeseburger pods were out. And unfortunately, at Animal Kingdom, for someone like me, there isn't a whole lot of safe things to eat. Literally anything with a spice, even if it's not spicy, but it has a spice on it, I can't eat it as much as I would love to.
A lot of that at Animal Kingdom for sure.
Oh my gosh, I know. And I walked past so many things that I thought, I want to eat you. I want you. And I can't have you. So what I did was I took a lap. I saw Kevin. I listened to the band play over there where Kevin usually is hanging out. I did get a mango passion fruit icy, one of the shaved ices, and I walked around with that for a little while. I was going to do another ride or two, but I decided not to. I actually was having too much of a nice time just walking and looking at everything. I looked at some animals around the Tree of Life and just had a nice half an hour, 45 minutes where I just walked around, and it was really nice. Huge difference from Epcot an hour before. But I was definitely getting really hungry. I knew I had to get to Magic Kingdom at that point, and it was going to be an unintentional 4-park day. And I thought,
that's right. Okay, it is a 4-park day.
I've got to eat. So I wanted to sit. The only thing available was Diamond Horseshoe. But actually that worked out fine because I know the food. It was not going to cause me any issue. I thought, let's just do that. So I got a reservation for Diamond Horseshoe at 6:30. So I started making my way out. At 5:30, I was in the Magic Kingdom. So in a matter of 3 hours, I went from Epcot to Animal Kingdom to Magic Kingdom. But the funny thing was, it didn't feel like I had rushed. I think, again, because when you're alone and you're able to just zig and zag how you please, it doesn't feel like you've overdone yourself. I guess if that makes any sense. If I had kids or even if I had my husband with me, I would never be able to do that ever. But it was just the natural progression of the day. So 5:30 in Magic Kingdom, the cavalcade was going around. It was a special cavalcade for Hispanic Heritage Month. They named it something different this day, and it was super cute and fun. I love that they added Raya. Raya is one of my kids' favorites. I love that it's a pro-girl, no need for a love story kind of movie. Love that. So I love seeing Raya. It was super cute. I wasn't going to put this into the trip report, but I think it's extremely important. It was at this time that I'm sitting outside the Diamond Horseshoe area watching this cavalcade that admittedly I started to panic. I haven't been away from my family much recently. We just are together all the time. I've only done 2 trips by myself ever, and I already have anxiety and some mental health issues, as lots of people do. And I could feel that realization that I'm by myself and I have a whole day ahead of me. And should I have done this? And the mom guilt started. There's so much pressure to not only have a great career and excel, but you're supposed to be an excellent mom and a partner and be present in all of these ways. And how dare you take time for yourself? And I started to feel all of that. I could feel it in my chest. And I texted my husband and I said, I'm starting to feel like I shouldn't have done this. I'm feeling really guilty. Are things there going okay? And thankfully he's amazing. And he said, no, you should be there. You need to learn how to do things for yourself. Not in a mean way, but I need to learn how to be on my own outside of mom, wife, hospital, caseworker, all of that. You are still you. What do you like to do? Do what you want to do. So it took me about a half an hour of just talking to myself, but it was a good thing. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad that I was forced to talk myself through that situation. And I hope if anybody is listening, if you're a mom, a dad, even if you don't have kids, but you've not taken time for yourself, it's hard. Do it. 110% do it. So that's my little spiel, because I did. I had a half an hour where I had a panic and I almost was going to abandon ship and go home, but I didn't. And I'm so glad that I didn't.
I think that will be relatable to a lot of people.
I hope so. It's hard. These times are hard, man. So what I decided to do to get myself out of the funk, I went and watched Country Bears. I've never seen this in my life. I thought, it's going away. I've heard how crazy it is. I want to see this. Oh my God, what fever dream. These country bears. There are things coming out of the walls, and there's drunken bears playing music on the side. And then there's the thing. If anyone has not done Country Bears and is going anytime soon, you have to go to it. It was so much fun. I was just in shock of what I saw. I can't stop laughing just thinking about it.
It is a little surprising it's gone on this long.
There are some things in that show. I don't get offended easily, but holy moly.
Girl. Now you know why they're redoing it, and you had a chance to see the before. You'll get to see the after.
I will be there to take notes and see how they changed it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay, so that was at 6:10. I was supposed to have dinner at 6:30. They were running behind. They were super kind and super, oh, we're so sorry. And I'm like, it's just me. It's fine. I had dinner at 7 and it was exactly what I needed. It was super yummy. If you've ever been to Liberty Tree Tavern, it's just Liberty Tree Tavern food. It's Thanksgiving. It's turkey and stuffing and gravy and mashed potatoes and everything delightful and so many carbs. And I had a nice beer with it. And I just sat there in the nice air conditioning and ate my Thanksgiving dinner with my beer. And it was delightful. And I felt so good afterwards. My tummy was full and I had gotten through my anxiety. And I said, you are here. Let's go. That ended and fireworks were about to start. They were starting at 8. I originally wanted to go ride Big Thunder while the fireworks were going off. It's one of my favorite things to do. But there was a huge line and I thought, no, I'm going to book it. So the last 3 times I've seen Happily Ever After, Tink didn't fly because of rain or wind or whatever it might have been. And that's my favorite part. My dream is to be Tink and fly. It would be so much fun. And just, if they ever do like a lottery where you can enter to win to be Tink, I would sell whatever is left of my body to pay for being Tink. So I booked it and I made my way through the crowds and I got the perfect spot right outside Cosmic Rays where they have the pathway blocked off.
Mm-hmm.
I made it just in time for her to fly. And once again, I was surrounded by people who didn't know it was coming, which is, and I feel that it's surprising to me that people don't know that these things happen. And so it was starting to end and I saw some people like getting ready to leave and I thought, why are you leaving? She's coming. And as soon as she pops out, the crowd roars. Like you can hear the gasps of people when she comes out. And so many kids are screaming and parents are pointing. And it was just the perfect moment. And she flies and I start crying. And I look around me and there are a couple of other people who are by themselves and they're also crying. And we're just like, oh, so great. And so we're all crying together.
I think that would be the hardest part about painting is taking the energy of the crowd because I would be crying while flying.
I've thought about this, Shannon. I have imagined myself coming out of that door or the whatever it is. And I can feel myself flying over the crowd and just hearing them. And oh my gosh. Anyhow, so
it's very emotional.
It was overwhelming just between the amount of people who didn't know she was coming and then the few people around me who did. And like me were waiting for the perfect spot. And it was so good. I'm so glad that I made it there in time. And at that point, it was about 8:30. I had the Tron individual lightning lane for 8:30, but I saw a mass of people going that way, which I thought would happen. And I figured, let's go on the people mover and take a spin. So that's what I did. And I got some really pretty shots of the castle at night. And it was fun. Something that happened that I don't know, I'm a dork and I think it's super fun. There were people waving from the ground. I didn't know them. They don't know me. But we're waving at each other and it was so fun. And I was so happy at this point. It was a day and it was good and it was hard. But I felt myself finally, it took me all day to breathe and realize I'm here. I've been waiting for this for months. I've been saving up for this for months and I'm here. So that was a really fun point. So after that, it was about 9:00 and I did go over to Tron. It didn't take long at all. It was maybe 5-10 minutes. I don't know if at the end of the night they do this or it was just because of something else, but they didn't have the little pre-show. You skipped it. You walked right through, which was fine for me. I just felt bad for anybody that hadn't done it before because that is a really fun, I don't want to spoil it because I know it's still semi-new, but it's a fun little pre-show. So I rode Tron and it was so much better at night. I know there are some opinions on, I know it's short and I find it frustrating that it's not as accommodating as it should be for people. That frustrates me. That aside, at night, it is amazing. I'll send you the picture. I put my hands up this time and you feel like you're flying and it was the perfect way to end the day. So that was when I called it quits for the night and I walked towards the bus. I have a little tradition where I like to stop in the confectionery and get one of the ices on the way out. So I got myself one of the goofy glaciers or whatever they're called. I walked to the bus and I'm standing in the line for the bus at Pop. And thankfully there are literally 3 buses for Pop all lined up. So there was a long line, but we were just walking the entire time because everyone is getting on one of these 3 buses. It was delightful. But as I'm walking onto the bus, one of the security guards or whoever was helping people get on the bus, he looks at me and he says, "Is there alcohol in there?" And I said, "No, it's a goofy glacier." He went, "What's a goofy glacier?" I said, "It's this."
It's an icy.
I was like, "It's just an icy." He's okay, I believe you. I'm like, I can't hole in there. It's just an icy. And he wasn't being confrontational, but it was just I wasn't prepared for that question getting on the bus. And I got taken aback for a second. And I thought, no, it's just a goofy glacier.
I'm going to predict that's based on experience.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
People try to sink some alcohol and you're like, I couldn't even buy alcohol at Magic Kingdom.
It never even crossed my mind at that point. But regardless, that was funny. The amazing part of that whole situation was that by 10:00, I was in my room. So
that sounded like a 20-hour day.
It
wasn't.
It did. But thankfully, getting to where I was going in the morning and getting back at night were both the smoothest I could have asked for. So
with a little Epcot hiccup.
Oh my goodness. I will never forget. I've just never seen so many people. And I've been to New York City at Christmas time when it's full of tourists, and I've never seen so many people at Epcot. And I looked at my phone later that day and there were a lot of people on social media commenting about how busy it was. And it's like, yeah, it was.
So that's a very good full day. I am very interested to hear how you decided to spend your second full day.
My second day, I decided I found myself getting the most anxious when I, number one, stopped. I know that sounds crazy, but the more time that I spent stationary, the more time that I had to think or feel lonely. And so I wanted to stay busy, but I also didn't want to focus on the plan, which is very difficult for me. But I took a few deep breaths and I said, okay, I need to relearn how to do Disney in a way that makes me more happy. I slept in. I never get to sleep in. My plan was to turn right back around and go back to Magic Kingdom, but I did not. I slept in until 8 o'clock, which to some people might sound, that's not sleeping in. Oh, it is. It is sleeping in. It is to me.
If you're used to getting up at 6, it is.
I did not get up and out of bed until about 8:15. I did get Lightning Lane, so I did schedule one for Space Mountain for 10 because that was one of the things that I really wanted to do. I did get a Guardians again for 6 p.m. in the hopes that I would do my Epcot things that day, today. I was going to book another Tron Lightning Lane, but it was $22. And I had a really hard time stomaching $22 for a ride that lasts, a minute? Mm-hmm. And I had just done it the day before. And I thought, no, I can't. There's a line that I have to draw somewhere. And that's where I drew it. I don't know. I second guessed myself a few times throughout the day, but I couldn't do it, Shannon. There's a point where Disney have to learn, you're not going to get my money. You're not.
And that's where supply and demand have to even out. So if it's too expensive for most people, then they will regulate.
No, I didn't do it. So the only individual one that I got was Guardians. And that was it was half the price. So that was perfect. So I was showered, dressed, and I was actually in the park by 9:30. And at 9:30, I had myself a little photo shoot that was so fun. And I'm going to send you the pictures. There was a British couple taking pictures and they were trying to do selfies. And so, of course, I jumped in and I said, hey, I'll take your picture for you. And they were super appreciative. And the girl said, now it's your turn. And I said, great, thank you. This girl was like a full-fledged photographer. She took my phone, put it on portrait mode, changed the settings around, told me where to go. And I have some of the nicest pictures of just myself hanging out in front of the castle in portrait mode. And they're the best. And I told her thank you about 1,000 times. And the person she was with said, oh, that's just how she is. She has to have the perfect shots. And I said, I really appreciate it because I would have never thought to take glamour shots of myself in front of the castle, but I'm so happy I have them.
How nice. I love that you're running into so many nice people.
It was the entire weekend. And honestly, again, you'll see later I did talk to people intentionally, but for the most part, it was a very casual way about meeting people, which was delightful. Yeah, I had my little photo shoot, which was fun. And then I went and I got my Nutella waffle and coffee over at Sleepy Hollow. And for those who don't know, my favorite place to eat my Nutella waffle is across the little road from Sleepy Hollow. Behind the Christmas shop, there are some picnic tables. They're almost always empty. And that's where the characters come out. And as I'm sitting there, Peter Pan came over and chatted with me for a minute. The evil stepsisters came out and chatted with me for a minute. They were talking to the family next to me. And it's not like they just walk by and just wave and leave. No, this happened to me multiple times over there. They'll stop and spend a solid couple of minutes talking to you. And it's so fun. So if anyone listening wants to have breakfast in Magic Kingdom and needs a spot, take my spot because it's the best.
It's a great tip. And the Sleepy Hollow seating sometimes gets really full.
Oh, it always is full and it's chaos over there because everyone's crammed into that little area. So I highly recommend just taking your tray, walk across the little road and find some spots back there. It's quiet. But like I said, I've never sat back there and not seen a character come out. It's so fun.
Okay. Nice.
So that was fun. That was a good way to start the morning. I called my mom, talked to her for a while. And I stayed there for about 45 minutes and just sat and watched people, which is what I wanted to do. I think I did mention that. That's one thing I did do. Not on the hub, but back there.
Yeah, you said coffee and hubgrass, but really it's like you're having breakfast with the characters.
It was a nice trade-off. So then I did go to my Lightning Lane for Space Mountain at 10, which was fun. The older I get, the less I love Space Mountain. It hurts. It really hurts. But it's worth it, but it hurts. So that was good. I had never walked through the gift shop with all the Tron merchandise, so I did that for a while. There's some really weird things that they sell. I don't know who's buying these full-on Tron jumpsuits. You go. If you're going to get that and wear it, you go. I'm not. But man, there's some weird stuff in there. Anyhow, so then I took a right and walked towards Fantasyland. At that point, I picked up a Lightning Lane for Haunted Mansion at 11, so I had about an hour to kill. I was going to hop on the train at the Fantasyland station, and I looked and I went, oh yeah, there's characters in there and they're back. And I said, what? So I went and got in line, and little old me went and saw Goofy and Donald and Minnie and Daisy in the Big Top area. Mm-hmm. And it was so fun. And again, I have pictures that I can show. I told Donald, because he did one of these, and I said, I'm here by myself. And I said, I'm on Mom-cation. And he hugged me, and he went like this, like to wave, because like I tend to have my camera. And so we have a picture of us waving to my family and telling them we had a good time. Mm-hmm. And they were so fun. One of the attendants with Donald said, where's your button? And I said, I don't have a button. So she actually escorted me over to the table inside the Big Top Souvenirs area and got me a button, and she wrote Mom-cation on it and put it on me and said, you have to be proud that you're here and doing that for yourself. And I said, I know. The girl who helps me with the button behind the counter was a college program student. And she was asking me, oh, how many kids do you have? And I said, I have 4. And she went, oh. I said, yeah. And she said, what are your plans for today? And I told her I'm going to do some things here and then go to Epcot and have a few drinks. And she said, oh, you're my hero. I want to be you when I grow up. And I went, what do you mean when you grow up? I'm your age. And then I thought, no, Missy, you're not your age anymore. She's 17 years younger than me. I felt a little old, but I was a little proud. I was going to embrace it. And I'm very content in where I am in my life. And so that was just it was a fun interaction. So I left there, and at 11:01 is when I got to Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion is my favorite attraction, as it is for many people, but I get giddy when I ride that ride, and I love to try to find things I hadn't seen before, because there's always something. And I've ridden that ride. I had to go on it 20 times already, and I still find things, especially in the attic near the bride. There's so many fun little Easter eggs up there, and I love finding them. And so that was probably one of the highlights of my morning, was just being by myself and being able to lean out of the dune buggy and look at things. And it was just delightful. I'm a little mad the Hatbox Ghost isn't there yet.
Almost.
I know, but I thought for sure it would be there for Halloween season. Do we know where they're going to put him yet? I was curious if you knew.
No, at Disneyland, it's at the end.
Is it?
So in my head, that's where it was going to go, but I don't actually know for sure.
I was just wondering, because that's one thing I was looking at, was trying to see where they could fit him in, but I'm very excited about that. I was mad because I know where all of the picture places are on these rides. And so admittedly, I'm that dork that will pose for the pictures. And I had some really fun poses, and my magic band did not sync up and I did not get my picture. I was a little mad because I had a fun pose.
You can request it though. So if you know, I was on Haunted Mansion on this date at this time, they will go look for it.
Really? I know exactly what time I was on Haunted Mansion.
I had a feeling you did know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they will look for it.
And I like keeping them. Anyhow, so that's what I did. And then, of course, I went to Memento Mori and looked in the gift shop, and I had to stop myself again from buying 100 things. They've really upped their Haunted Mansion merch game. I know because of the movie and it's Halloween, but there are some really fun things. Have you seen that they sell a Madame Leota bathrobe in Memento Mori now? It is about 4 feet wide, tall, long, whatever you want to say. Who is buying that and carrying it around Magic Kingdom? I guess you could ship it.
I would like to see it.
It is huge. I should take a picture. It's huge. It's a full-on bath mat, like a rug. It's super cute. I just thought, who in the heck is buying this stuff?
Could you roll it up?
I'm sure you could. I guess in my mind, I thought if you rolled it up, I would still be worried about spilling something on it or I don't know. It was just such a strange thing for them to sell in the parks.
I think it's especially hard when things are fragile or large that they don't send things back to the resort.
I do miss that so very much because there are so many times that and they're losing money, especially on me, because I would have bought things earlier in the day and just had them sent back to my room or even sent back to the front of the park and then pick them up later. But I didn't.
I read a cast member posted online that said that they were going to resume it and then they called off all efforts.
Oh, really?
So whatever happened, it's been paused again.
Yeah. I wish it would come back. That's one thing I really wish would come back. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, that was very fun. And I love looking through that gift shop. I was getting hungry at 11:30. I went over to get some spring rolls. The line was long, but it moved super quick. There was a family behind me who was new. And I can't not hear what people are saying. But the mom was telling the kids, I heard these are good. It's worth the line. And I said, they're worth it. I promise they're worth it. And so we get up. They may have raised the prices again, or I just might not have bought them for a while. They're $9.50 now. And they're smaller. I don't feel that these are the same spring rolls that I had gotten in the past. And my husband and I both are usually very pro Disney food. I think overall, the value for what you get is not terrible at Disney. We have been to some local amusement parks, some national other chain amusement parks, and holy cow, it is so expensive for food that's gross. And for the most part, I'm very happy with what I get at Disney. And we tell people all the time how great it is. And Shannon, I was mad. I was really mad that they were $9.50 and they were tiny and there wasn't a ton of filling inside. It was mostly wrapper. I was not happy. And
I think when they know something's popular, they want to squeeze every dime out of it.
They did. And I'm just here to tell anyone listening, you should still get them because they're still delicious.
But this is a great PSA.
They're just expensive and smaller than they used to be. Mm-hmm. That's all. I even have it written on my notes here. $9.50 ? Anyhow, at that point, I made another lightning lane for Soarin'. I thought, let's regroup. Let's go back to Soarin' for 2:30. And I wasn't really sure what to do at this point. So I'd mentioned before, I'm very fortunate that I've gone to Disney quite a few times. I have another trip coming up in a few months with my family. So it's not that I've never gotten to do certain things or I don't think I'm going to do them for a long time. I know I can. So I'm extremely fortunate. So I thought, what's something that I would like to do that I can't do normally? And that's just to peruse the Emporium, which I don't know, it might not sound super fun to some people, but I love just looking at the stuff and seeing what new things they have. And so I have about a half an hour, almost 40 minutes just walking through the Emporium and looking at stuff. And it was fun. And I think that's the beauty of going by yourself is if I had my husband or even a friend with me, I would never say, hey, let's walk through the Emporium for 40 minutes. But that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. And I loved it.
Yeah, you're making a great case for solo trips, which is you don't have to ask.
No.
Like anytime you're with one or more people, it's a compromise.
It is.
What do you feel? I'm like, well, do you think we could do this? But when you're by yourself, you literally can pivot to whatever you want to do.
Right. And even if you're with your best friend and you guys can agree on most things, you still have to say, hey, why don't we do this? Or do you want to do this? I didn't have to. And that's what I did. When I made my way towards the front of the park, I watched, oh my gosh, my mind's blanking.
Dapper Dance.
Yes, the Dapper Dance. Thank you. Oh my gosh, they're some of my favorite things. I watched the Dapper Dance. They sang. I caught right when they first started, so that was delightful. When they ended, they asked anybody wanted to take pictures. I didn't want to, but a girl ran up, a younger girl, and she pulled up her sleeve and she had a sleeve full of friendship bracelets, and she gave one to each of the Dapper Dans. And it was so precious and so cute. And they were so happy to get them. I loved it. It was such a cute moment.
This is the year of the friendship bracelet.
I love it. I do. It's bringing me back to when I used to make those when I was a kid. So that was cute to watch. I actually walked over. I was going to go try to see Mickey just by myself. Thought that'd be fun, but the line was super long and I just didn't have it in me to stand in line. And it was at about 12:15-ish that I decided I'm done. Let's find something else to do. In my head, I thought I would love to go to a lounge and sit and have a snack and a fancy drink and wait for Epcot to open. This is where, admittedly, I was all over the place. And I actually have on my phone, I keep Google location on my phone. And so I can see where myself and my family are. And it keeps a map of you. And you can see I walked out and back, and I'll explain where. All right. So in my head, I thought I want to go to Steakhouse 71. When I got there, of course, it was Sunday at lunchtime and it was super busy. I was not going to get a spot at the lounge. So I thought, okay, we'll pivot. I have never stepped foot in Wilderness Lodge before. It's one of the only resorts I've never been to. So I remembered hearing that the boats from Contemporary were running to Wilderness Lodge. I thought, how fun would that be? Let's get on a boat and go over. I walked down and they're not running the boats that day. So
they just reopened.
They're closed. So I turned around and I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? And this is where I became scattered, but it's okay. The first thing I thought to do was to get on a bus to Hollywood Studio from Contemporary, take the Skyliner to the Riviera, and have a drink at Bar Riva. But then as I'm walking up, I see the next bus for Hollywood Studio isn't coming for 20 minutes. It must have just got there. I thought, okay, I walked to Magic Kingdom again, and I was going to get on a bus to Riviera, but then I saw that the boat had just pulled up for Wilderness Lodge. So I went, nope, we're going to Wilderness. It was a mess. And I fully admit that I was a mess, but I walked right onto the boat, had a lovely boat ride to Wilderness Lodge, and Wilderness Lodge is a vibe. It's really something. I've seen video and I've obviously know the theming, but until you're there, you really don't get it. It does not. That's probably one of the only times that I've honestly not felt like I was at Disney World, if that makes any sense. It's just different. You're in the wilderness and there's so many trees and all of the log cabin looking buildings. It felt, I don't know, it wasn't bad, and not in a bad way. It was just really nice. So I walked up to Geyser Point, which is amazing, full. I said, how long for a wait? And it was going to be about an hour. And I thought, I don't want to wait an hour.
You're like, for just one little person?
Right. I said, can I squeeze? No, of course I couldn't squeeze in. And the person taking the names was from Scotland, and he had the nicest accent, and he was so kind. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. And then walked through the lobby, and I walked through the gift shop, and I got on a bus, and I went to Hollywood Studios, and I got on a Skyliner, and I got to the Riviera, and I went to Bar Riva. I got to Bar Riva at 1:37. So it only took me about an hour of mindlessly wandering. But let me tell you, some of my favorite times at Disney, not even by myself, are when we're just taking walks and looking at things and being outside. So it didn't bother me at all that it was a mindless back and forth of walking and going places. It was part of my little adventure that day. So I made it to Bar Riva. I got myself an Aperol Spritz, and I got the Brie, which is so yummy. And I sat and I had a nice little time. I didn't talk to anybody this time. One of the only times that I sat somewhere and didn't talk. I did listen to a woman and her friends next to me. They could not have been more than early 20s. And she's talking about her wedding. And she's going on and on about the vibe that she wants for her wedding and all the different things. And I was 100% eavesdropping. But when you're in public and you're talking really loud, I don't know that you can't. So whoever is listening, don't blame me. I wasn't trying because she was talking very loud.
I feel like eavesdropping is a cousin to people watching. It's like you can't help it. Your ears are not.
We were sitting right next to each other, and it was
ears are not covered. And I tend to talk quietly when I'm in public because I don't necessarily want everyone to hear. But if people are gonna talk, then you're gonna hear.
Listen, I was there for it. I had.
It's not like you were. It's not like you were leaning over.
I did not. So I had a nice little time. Bar Riva is one of those. I feel like Bar Riva is the pool bar for the Riviera, but it doesn't feel like it. It's a very nice little spot. Highly recommend it. So I left Bar Riva and I got on the Skyliner for Epcot, and I was at Epcot at 2:30. Much better. No line to get into security. I almost closed my eyes as I was walking up that bridge from the International Gateway and down into the UK. And I opened them, and it was like night and day from the day before. And I just went, oh, thank goodness. And I was ready. So I booked it for Canada. There was no line. I got one of everything because I thought I'm just going to eat and drink as much as I can today because I didn't yesterday. And I had the beer cheese soup, which was so good. I'd never had it before. And the steak and a beer. And it was delightful weather. It wasn't very hot. There was no humidity. And this was the Epcot afternoon that I was hoping for. So wasn't the Animal Kingdom afternoon. It was the Epcot afternoon. But I was so glad that I decided to change the plans for that day. So that was the first thing I did. After that, I made my way over to Shimmering Sips, which is where they have the mimosa flight, which is one of my favorite things. And I got one of those, and that was delightful. Although, for anyone that's had the mimosa flight there, the middle one, the berry, was not very good. It was the first time I've never finished a mimosa, I think, in my entire life. It tasted like cough syrup, and I was not a fan. But maybe that's your thing. If it is, knock yourself out.
If you like cough syrup. If you love cough syrup, that's probably in our reviews on the website. If you like cough syrup,
that's your girl. But that was really good. That was at about 2:50. I have here at 3:08. I went into the brewing lab, which I'm not going to lie, was a little disappointing. The Muppet theming was there. They could have done so much, and I wish they would have. But it lacked. It really lacked. I decided to get the PB&J wings. I don't know where Disney buys their wings, but they were something out of Pim's Kitchen where they should have been the shrunken things. They were, no lie, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches big. They were insanely small. I was like, come on, Disney.
This is why the Impossible ones are actually our favorite.
I know. And that's again where my dietary restrictions come into play. I love, love, love spicy food. And I really wanted to just say, heck it, let's just get the food and I'll deal with the consequences later. And then the good angel on my shoulder said, no, don't do that. So I just had the PB&J wings. The flavor was really good. The wings were just disappointing. I also had the beer flight as well, which was very good. At this point, I then made my way over to Test Track at 3:22 and I rode single rider. I walked basically right on, which was really fun. And then at 3:55, and again, I know this doesn't make much sense. I turned around and I went to Mexico. La Cava is like my mecca. I love La Cava as much as my children. It is just, it is my church. It is, if it was a religion, it would be my religion, would be La Cava. I love it so much.
The drinks and the queso?
The drinks, the queso, the people, the servers and the managers at La Cava are just some of the kindest people. For instance, my husband and I went just for a day for my birthday this summer and went to La Cava on my birthday. The entire place sang happy birthday to me. They were cheering and clapping and everyone came over to me. It was just, it's just a really great atmosphere. I love it. So I went and got in line for La Cava. And this is where something kind of comical happened. So I'm in line. And if anyone's been to La Cava, it's very small. They only let in a certain amount of people at a time. You have to wait in line and go one person out, one person in. So I'm waiting very patiently. There are 2 people ahead of me who all of a sudden turn into 15 people because they just let their entire family into line with them.
Mm-hmm. It's an epidemic.
As you've heard, La Cava is my thing. I was very excited that I was going to be next, but then 15 people walked in front of me.
Which is like full capacity of La Cava.
It is. It's the entire bar because I was just going to go up and get something to go at this point. And they took up the entire bar. And I'm like trying to calm myself down. It's okay, but I'm very mad. I'm texting my husband. These people just jumped the line at La Cava and he knows. Oh, she mad?
Because it's one thing if someone has to leave to go to the bathroom. Right?
It's
That's one thing. But when 1 or 2 people is holding the spot for 15, that is extremely upsetting.
It was frustrating. But then they let me in with them because I'm just one person. And so I squeezed in. Shannon, next thing I'm doing tequila shots with the family that cut in front of me. And we're taking pictures and they're my new best friends. And so I forgave them.
Lemons and lemonade.
It was okay. No, I forgave them. It was a nice it was a cute conversation. Like I said, I was only intending to get a margarita to go, but then they were, you have to do tequila too. And I'm very susceptible to peer pressure, especially when it comes to tequila.
What's your go-to order there? What do you like?
So the Black Magic is my favorite. NPH is my man to begin with, but man, that's a good margarita.
Oh, that's the Neil Patrick Harris drink. Okay.
It is, yeah.
Well, I should figure it out. He loves magic. It should be easy.
It is, yeah. It's a very rich margarita. It has a bunch of berries. It's very good. If not that one, then just the standard avocado. You can't go wrong with that margarita.
That's my pick.
So good. It's so good. That's what I got that day was the avocado margarita. And funnily, is that even a word?
It is now.
Okay. Funnily, at home, I have a beer or two and I don't go out to drink very often, but I'm at Epcot. I am 21 years old again. And I think that I can drink around the world.
Just like the DCP kids.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I was her. So anybody listening is keeping track of the drinks that I am drinking. I'm sorry. And if my mom is listening, I didn't drink all of those in one day.
Or your kids.
Or my kid. They don't know. Oh, they do know how to work a computer now. Man, they're getting older. Anyhow, time was that, Shannon? That was at 3:55. Okay. So I did that, had my fun times at La Cava. At 4:20, I am out walking. At this point, it went a little easy peasy. I was just walking around. I don't really have a whole lot for the next hour. I just walked in and out of the China pavilion, went into the shop and looked at some stuff. I did go and get the raclette cheese, which is one of my favorite things. I love that cheese. I had that and I had the beer at the Alpstein, which is a key lime beer. It was really good.
Your name means some of our favorites.
It's so good. Oh, the key lime radler. I wrote it down. The key lime radler. The college program person at the Alps booth called me princess. And I melted because usually I get called queen when I'm with my kids, but I was princess that day. And it was just so nice. I even wrote it down. She called me princess. And it was about 5:30-ish where I was at the middle point in the World Showcase. I was getting a little tired. I was very full from eating and drinking. And so I actually took the friendship boat back across the lagoon. And it was at 5:30 that I came to Bubbles and Brine. And I had told you before that champagne is my thing. And I stood there and there's nobody in line. And just,
you got Dom Perignon.
Didn't.
Okay.
I got a glass of Moet because I stood there and now, again, there's nobody in line. The people at the stand are just staring at me like, is this woman going to go and order? What is she doing? And I'm just standing there. And in my head, I'm thinking, can I spend $70 on a drink. Yes, you can. And I went to walk up and then literally I turned around. No, you can't. And I turned around. Yes, you can. And I did this 3 times. And finally I decided I can't spend $70 on a single drink. And I thought in my head, my husband and I are trying to buy a new house sometime in the next 6-ish months. That'll be our thing. I'll buy a bottle of Dom when we finally meet that goal. That'll be a better reward. So I got my glass of, I think it's Moet. If anyone listening to this knows how to pronounce champagne and I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. I got my glass of champagne. And so I'm standing at a table not far from where Bubbles and Brine is. And there are 3 tables in this little like horseshoe shape. And it's me, there's a couple, and then there's just a singular woman at the table across from us. So the 3 tables. And you can tell that all of us have had a few drinks, not obnoxiously, but we're all giggly and everyone's chatting. And this is where I did strike a conversation up with the people next to me. And then the woman next to them joined in. She was also on a solo trip. We ended up talking and getting a second glass of champagne, all of us together, and just having some of the best conversation about being a Disney adult and how we don't care what people think. We love this. The people next to me actually moved to Florida from Virginia, near where I live now, because they loved the park so much. This woman who was on her solo trip was just like me, had kids, had a spouse, and decided to come for the weekend by herself. And we had just a delightful conversation about why people do this and how much fun we have. And it was so fun. And I remember looking out and the sun is setting and you can see Spaceship Earth. And it's just, I had a moment, Shannon, and I thought, this is why I do this. This is why I hope for as long as I can take a weekend to myself and just remember what makes me happy. And this made me happy. And it was the closest thing to bliss as I can think on my own. It was so great.
I had that. I don't believe in the concept of cringe. I don't believe in the concept of being embarrassed. You're just into what you're into.
No,
we all have to find pockets of life that are joyful.
Absolutely. And I remember thinking, this is why I do this. One of the first times my family and I went to Disney was shortly after I was diagnosed with cancer. And it was the first time that I remember in that time period forgetting about that and forgetting that the outside world existed. And to this day, that's what Disney does for me is I can not look at my phone. I won't look at the news. I love that there are almost no chain restaurants in the Disney bubble. I can just be there. And for me, that's my place and it will always be. So that was another one of those moments of that weekend that I will probably never forget. So that was my moment. It was also at this point that I realized I could join the virtual queue for the new Moana, A Journey of Water. And so I did that. And it was about 6:00 when my time was called. It was super simple. I just walked on over. There's a QR code they give you for the virtual queue. So I scanned in and I loved it. It was, again, right about sunset. So it was absolutely stunning. Whether you're a kid or an adult, I think there's something for everybody. And although I was never sadly at Epcot during its prime when it was more educational, it felt like that because there's so much that you can read and learn about water and the different life cycles of water. And it was just really neat and it really exceeded my expectations. I'm delighted that they put it there. I can't wait until the rest of it is done, that at least that piece is finally for us to see. So that was really nice. Yeah, soon. A really nice surprise that I didn't have on my list for that day or even at all. But I'm glad that I did it for sure. I got some really great pictures. It's just so pretty.
Good.
At 6:15, I went to ride Guardians. And this is another time where I met more people. So in line around me were a couple of groups of adults. There was a couple in front of me and then a group of 3 behind me, older than me, actually. we just started chatting. And by the time we got to where you say how many in your party, the couple and said, oh, there's 6 of us. And so we became a group of 6 for a whole car together. And we rode together and I ran and I do have the picture from this one. All of us are hands up dancing. We danced the entire ride. It was super fun. And we got off the ride and one of the women actually gave me her business card. And she said, anytime you're here, I only live a half an hour away. Let me know. And I'd love to hang out with you again. So I have her business card. And I do plan to email her and hopefully exchange back and forth for maybe the next time that I go. So that'd be super fun.
That's so nice. It's so hard to meet friends as an adult. And I just feel like when you're doing the thing that you love, you meet other people doing the thing they love. And that's a great bond.
It really is. So that was just a really fun little time.
Mm-hmm.
It was after that about 7:15 that I decided there was one booth left that I had to go to, and that was at Morocco. Where I live is very rural and I just don't have food options and I hate it. And one of my favorite things in the world is falafel. And so I went to Morocco and I got falafel and I got a fig cocktail, which is one of my favorite cocktails of the entire Food and Wine Festival. And the sun had set and I was sitting in Morocco. I saw someone get proposed to right to the left of me. And it was just a really fun little way to end the night.
So their proposal was in Morocco?
So right where there's the archway, when you walk to the Morocco on the right is where you get your food. And then there's an arch. The guy proposed right there. And it was just super cute. Not where I would have proposed, but.
But maybe it's meaningful to them.
That's what I was wondering too. I feel like it might have been. This is the first time that I wasn't eavesdropping a whole lot on a situation. It was just one of those, oh my gosh, they got engaged. And then there was people were cheering and then they left. But it was fun. This is where I feel bad, but it was 7:45 and I was done. I really wanted to stay to watch Epcot forever. And then I texted my husband and I said, what should I do? And he said, oh my gosh, you need to stay. You need to go to Jelly Rolls. You need to go do this. And I said, I don't know if I have it in me. I'm just so tired. And I finished my cocktail and I was done. And I go back and forth after it's been a week. And I thought I should have gone. I should have stayed out later, but I was tired and I didn't want to push myself. I decided to go back. So I walked back to the Skyliner. I got on the Skyliner and I met more people, Shannon, on the Skyliner were these 2 young girls with the thickest British accent I have ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I wonder where they're from. What are they doing? The Skyliner stopped over Hourglass Lake and one of them starts panicking. She does not like heights. She was already nervous.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, it's okay. We're okay. And so we were probably stuck for a solid 5 minutes or so, which doesn't sound like long. Right. When you're in the Skyliner, it's a long time.
It's a very long time.
So we start talking and they saw my button, what's a Mom-cation? So I explained to them for the 4th time this trip, 20-something girl is
I want to be you when
I grow up. And oh my God. Again.
Okay. There's 2 levels to this. One is you're not the same age as them, which is a shock. But secondly, it's nice that they have role models.
That's exactly. And that's where I was going to pivot this one. That's when it got to me and I thought, no. So I told them if you get married and you have a family, I felt bad because I didn't lecture them, but I 100% went on a tangent for a minute or two. And I said, I've been here now for 48 hours and I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I am so glad that I did this and I found myself and I've been finding out what I am and who I like. And you're still a person when you're a mom. And we had finally started moving again and going back into the station. And it was really sweet. We said our goodbyes. We were walking off together. And they said something along the lines of, because it was hard to understand them, but they said, I'm so glad to see that you've done that. have fun. And the one girl actually asked for a hug and I hugged her and it was just so cute. And I thought that's just the perfect way to end this day. So I walked back to Pop. I decided to treat myself to a kid's meal. I got some chicken tenders and I got a giant cookie. And I walked through the gift shop again, bought my family some things, and I went back to my room and I ate my giant cookie while I packed. And I was in bed by 10.
I know that you wish you'd stayed out later, but if you were tired, that's okay too.
I know. And I had to get up the next morning. Like I said, my flight was at 9:30. No, I'm sorry. 8:30. 9:30. Oh, 9:30. Sorry. I blanked for a second. So my bus was picking me up at 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have a long drive back from the airport to my house is about an hour and a half. And then I was going to pick up my kids. I'm glad I'm glad I went to bed. I think knowing your limits is a good thing. So I also feel like the first time that I do jelly rolls and all that, I would like it to be with either my husband or a friend or other people. So next time,
if you happen to be there when we are, we'll go with you.
I would love that. I'm not a very
jelly
good
rolls.
singer, but I do sing.
I'm not a good singer. It doesn't stop me.
But it's so fun. So yeah, and I also think too, especially with these trips on my own, I want to do so much, but leaving things for another trip gives me reason to plan again. So that'll be another time. So,
so it sounds like you filled your time and
I did.
You were able to refill your cup. Did you anything worth noting about your trip home because you had the mirrors?
No, I will say it was again, I can't complain. Mirrors picked me up at 6:30. I was at the airport by 7:30. I was at my gate by 8:15 on my flight. And I was I was at my car leaving the airport to go home at 11:45.
Mm-hmm.
Very smooth, couldn't ask for a better day home. But that's it.
This sounds like a fantastic trip. I feel like you've been a really good example of what a solo trip, particularly for a mom, but for anyone.
Yeah. But yeah, for anybody, for sure.
Yeah. So I appreciate you taking the time to share. And even though your plans deviated, I feel like there's lots of good reasons and it's your trip and you're allowed to do that. So it's great. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I just loved it so much, and I hope that there were some takeaways. If you're a patron, there is an after chat posted on Patreon where she and I continued to talk about some things that I had jotted down and did not ask her in this interview. I think that will wrap up this episode of WW Prep to Go. For more information on this episode, check the show notes in your podcast app or go to the website wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 381. Until next time, I will see you on the site.
Before Shopify, were you wondering, where are my sales at? Now you're selling with Shopify, the global commerce platform supercharging your selling. You have no problem selling online, in person, on social media, and beyond. Gary, easy on the cha-ching.
Oh, sorry, but my Shopify sales are through the roof.
Start selling with Shopify today and discover how millions of businesses around the world use Shopify to ignite their selling. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.